honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
This is the FlashPoint Television Network.
Welcome to FlashPoint NewsBreak, where the truth lives. Here are today's news stories.
Welcome to NewsBreak. I'm Gene Bailey. The goal of NewsBreak is to bring you the stories from around the globe that affect your life. Let's get started with what's happening.
This morning, floodwaters receding following a week of catastrophic flooding across Indiana as the long road to recovery begins.
The hazards are still there, the challenges are still there.
At least 7 people have been killed, including a 4-year-old boy, after several days of torrential rain and flash flooding inundated the state. Emergency crews conducting dozens of water rescues. At one point, at least 150,000 without power. Streets turned to rivers, roads washed away. This home in the Ravenswood neighborhood of Indianapolis completely flooded. North of Indianapolis in Noblesville, cars and buildings submerged. 170 residents forced to evacuate, many with their pets. Hundreds of homes impacted by the rising waters. The White River reaching its highest water level ever Saturday, breaking a record set in 1913. In the town of Carmel, at least 215 homes and businesses affected by flooding, 40 residents forced to evacuate. In West Virginia, roads overflowing from the torrential downpour, emergency crews racing to rescue cars stuck in the floods.
Here comes the rain sheet.
In Kentucky, shoppers pelted with rain and strong wind as they crossed the parking lot of this shopping center. And in Englewood, Colorado, a snowplow seen moving mounds of hail off the road following a severe thunderstorm.
And take a look on this side. You can see even better just how those floods are making this parking lot collapse underneath all of that water. And unfortunately, many of these same impacted communities are bracing for even more rain as we head into this week.
This morning, emergency crews across Hawaii pushed to the brink. Lala passing by just south of the island as a Category 1 hurricane, unleashing drenching rains and damaging winds. This driver capturing a frightening close call as the storm toppled a tree right onto her car. The governor confirming more than 100 homes damaged or destroyed, prompting officials to issue a major disaster declaration. The storm, which weakened to a tropical storm overnight, dumping more than 3 feet of rain over the weekend. Hawaii's National Guard saving 2 paramedics trapped inside their own truck before it, too, was washed away. All that water wreaking havoc island-wide.
Oh, my God.
Swift currents washing out roads, water and debris overpowering highways. In Hilo, floods churning, and drone video capturing roads completely submerged. The highest rainfall total from this storm, more than 42 inches along the Big Island's northeast coast. Winds there reaching more than 70 miles an hour, ripping roofs off buildings, and thousands remain without power. Back on the Big Island, Wendell Causey spent Sunday clearing down trees after riding out the storm alongside his granddaughters, Kylea and Kella.
What were you telling the grandkids as this one moved in?
Yeah, they kept asking, is this the storm? Is this the storm? Yes, but trying to keep it so that it's not so scary.
Did you take care of the baby with the storm?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
After losing their home to Hurricane Iniki back in 1992, the family grateful to have survived a rare second Hawaiian hurricane. And this morning, officials say that they are grateful that the path of Lala has shifted and spared a direct hit on the islands. However, they're urging residents to steer clear of flooded areas until crews can get back into those hard-hit spots and get a full assessment of the damage here.
this other news. You stopped down the installation of some planned Islamic foot washing stations at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. You wrote to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. These facilities appear designed to single out one subset of the population for special treatment based on religion. I'm unaware of either airport installing standalone facilities to meet the particular needs of the many other religious groups represented across Texas. That is illegal. Both airports are government-owned facilities. Both the federal and state constitutions prohibit the government from facilitating this kind of discrimination. You're referencing George Bush International Airport as the other airport under discussion here, and that airport, IAH, already has one of these foot washing stations. So I want to ask you, are you advocating that that existing foot washing station get pulled out?
So both for any proposed or any existing facilities like that are simply unconstitutional and illegal. Let me explain what I did here as well as what I've done before, and that is any Muslim-only location like this or any Muslim-only event in the state of Texas, we've shut down. You cannot have a Muslim-only washing station in an airport. You can, before that, shut down a Muslim-only event in Grand Prairie, a Muslim-only event at school districts in various regions across the state of Texas, because that is very simply illegal. One factor weighing in here with the airport, and that is there are two different parts of an airport, one of which is governed by our local cities, the other which is governed by the federal government here by Secretary Duffy. If it is before you get to the TSA check-in, that's governed by the city, and the state of Texas is going to crack down and eliminate funding for that city if they don't comply with the standard that I've articulated. Once a passenger gets inside the TSA checkpoint, that is then governed by the federal government and is subject to Secretary Duffy to make sure that they too crack down on and eliminate these washing centers because they are in violation of the United States Constitution.
Okay. You've argued also that government neutrality toward religion shouldn't mean eliminating religious expression. That was an argument that you made during the Ten Commandments in Classrooms debate. Is there an argument here that applies to that? And I ask because there's a conservative activist, Ryan Fournier, who wrote in the New York Post, or was quoted rather, this isn't about pushing an ideology, it's basic airport management. People washing their feet in standard bathroom sinks creates soaked, slippery floors and breaks the counters. Low-level voodoo basins keep the restrooms dry and safe for everyone. The comparison being made is that, you know, the Ten Commandments you said were not only religious but historical. It wasn't a religious-only argument. Is there a similar argument that these critics are raising now that's valid, or would you say that it's not?
So you're talking apples and oranges. I'll walk through it very quickly. If there are special facilities allowed for those who are Muslims, there must also be special facilities allowed for Christians, for Jews, and literally dozens, if not hundreds, of other religious faiths of people who are coming through our airports, and that simply is unfeasible. Second, let's go back. To be clear, I personally argued the Ten Commandments case of a monument on the Texas Capitol grounds to the United States Supreme Court and won by making clear that the Ten Commandments were part of the legal system and traditions of the state of Texas from our beginning to who we are today. And we are just teaching components of what made Texas history what it is by the Ten Commandments, such as thou shalt not kill and other principles like that, whereas these other religious faiths, they don't have the same application over the course of the history of the state of Texas, and hence do not need to be recognized either in our schools or on the Texas Capitol ground like other religions.
Now, hate crime charges have been filed in a Manhattan synagogue attack. NYPD saying the suspect disrupted services at Central Synagogue Friday night while assaulting a congregant and a member of the synagogue security team. Rabbi Ari Berman, president of Yeshiva University, with me now. And Rabbi Berman, thank you for your time. I tell you what, let's roll the tape. It's the only clip that we have of him inside the synagogue at the time. Let's watch it together. Here is the... Okay, so there it is, and just so our audience knows, that's the nut of the matter. Rabbi, what was he saying? I was trying to figure it out. I could not.
Yeah. Look, it's the ADA has said this was a hate crime. He said anti-Semitic words, but he also punched a congregant and headbutted security staff. So this is certainly an example of some of what we're seeing in New York City right now. You know, on the heels of just less than a month ago of stabbing attacks in New York that were also anti-Semitic. And this rise in anti-Semitism is a danger not just to Jewish New Yorkers, but for all New Yorkers. Violence creates violence. As we just saw in the last stabbing attack, it was one Jewish man and one Asian man. So this is something that really needs to be forwarded as a crucial issue for New York to tackle.
Okay, the mayor said the following. He said, "I'm horrified by the assault at Central Synagogue during services today. I can only imagine the pain and fear an attack like this during Shabbat services causing for the congregation and for Jewish New Yorkers across our city. Every New Yorker must be able to observe their religion without fear of violence. This despicable act has no place in our city. Our administration will do everything in our power to keep Jewish New Yorkers safe." He says the right things. You okay with that statement, Rabbi?
Yeah. I mean, the mayor's, it's like calling the fire department after the fire. We want the mayor not to stoke the flames. And that's what we see with this mayor. I mean, the mayor's aggressive, anti-Zionist, radical agenda, where he accuses Israel of the worst crimes, totally untrue, attacking the Prime Minister of the State of Israel. He's created an environment where it becomes almost permissive to tackle, to focus on Zionists and to attack them. And this is the problem. Like, we need a mayor, all New York needs a mayor who acts responsibly, where public safety is his major issue that he's tackling, not some foreign policy matter.
You know what's amazing to me, Ray? I've heard from so many Jewish American friends that they have legitimate fears about their own safety. And it's real.
Yeah.
It's not made up. And they will talk about it freely and openly, but they feel as if they are threatened. I've got some numbers to back that up, all right? Just in New York, more than, well, close to 1,200 incidents statewide, down from 2024, but you had 860 incidents here in New York. And now you've got school coming back, whether it's Columbia or Yeshiva University in 10 days. What would be your anticipation? How are you getting ready for this? And have you changed your security posture?
Look, security for our students, their safety is our top priority. And, you know, thank God they come to Yeshiva University and they feel safe and secure. In fact, it's the students that give me the optimism for the future. Because in their classes, they're learning how respect and human dignity is the center of a civilized society. And these are the students, these Yeshiva University students, give us hope for New York and hope for America. They are the bridge builders for the future.
Rabbi, thanks for coming on. Good luck in school. We'll be in contact when the school season gets underway. Rabbi Aaron.
Always a pleasure, Bill.
Today, the 60-day memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran expires, and Fox News spoke with the president early this morning to get his thinking on what comes next. The president told Fox News that Iran should put up the white flag of surrender, and he went on to say, "I have no time schedule. I'm not in a hurry." The president talking broadly about the back-channel negotiations that are taking place and confirming to Fox that there is a back channel directly between Washington and top IRGC officials in Tehran. The first public confirmation of such a channel, and this is critical because it comes as these conversations go back and forth. The president says they're good poker players, but they're dying, and that the midterms have nothing to do with my thinking. This is all moving very quickly in the region because there is a U.S. military posture that remains, and there are a lot of different players involved, and talks that are taking place as we speak right now between Iran and Oman about control of the Strait of Hormuz. And the president says if Oman gets in the way, we'll bomb the S out of them. Because at the end of the day, the president wants two clear things here. He wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. There is an ongoing U.S. naval blockade that is costing the Iranian regime hundreds of millions of dollars each day. And if ultimately this leads to future negotiations, that is when Iran's nuclear program is expected to be discussed.
So, Trey, the president has said the soldiers and the police are not getting paid in Iran. The current sanctions are costing Iran $435 million a day, it's being estimated. Explain what's happening to the people in Iran, and are they able to fight back against this? Because it reminds me of what happened. If they did fight back, it reminds me of what happened in January when people were getting killed for protesting. So how are the people surviving, and are they speaking out and saying that this is not fair, we need to get paid?
It's a great question, and I've been talking with regional intelligence sources to get a better understanding of what these economic sanctions and the U.S. naval blockade are actually doing to Iran. We know that the blockade is costing the regime hundreds of millions of dollars each day because the Iranians are not able to export crude oil from these critical ports along the Persian Gulf and into the Strait of Hormuz. But it's the economic sanctions that are expected to increase, according to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And when you have to think about sanctions, you look at this like an onion. And at the center of the onion, you have the U.S. naval blockade. And this is targeting Iran's main moneymaker, and that is their oil export apparatus. But then you have these secondary sanctions, and reports indicate they're going to start targeting even some of these Chinese companies that are buying Iranian oil. And so this is focusing mainly on the Iranian regime and officials in Tehran that use this money not only to produce missiles and drones, but also to pay top IRGC officials and even the field commanders that are ordering the missile strikes when they do take place against U.S. forces or allies across the region. And so this is a game of cat and mouse. But it's also a game of patience. And the president indicated to Fox News earlier today that he has no timetable. And this really flips the Iranian equation on its head, because the Iranians thought they could wait this out. They thought that the midterms would pressure President Trump to make a decision and pull U.S. forces out of the region. But the president has indicated to Fox News he plans to keep the U.S. naval blockade in place. And this is increasing the economic pressure on the Iranian regime. Inflation is rising. The process of goods and actually exporting goods is decreasing. And the focus now is on the regime officials in Tehran and ensuring that they have fewer dollars to put toward their military and these efforts to try to threaten U.S. forces across the region.
In a time when our nation needs hope, believers are united in one purpose: to seek God, stand in faith, and appeal to heaven. More than a symbol, this flag is a reminder that prayer changes things and that our trust remains in the Lord. When God's people pray, heaven responds. Order your Appeal to Heaven flag today at 888-427-9057 or visit fparmy.com.
Officials are raising the alarm over drug cartels using increasingly sophisticated drones along the southern border. They warn the technology presents a new and unique threat to U.S. national security. Brooke Taylor is in Dallas with the details. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Dana. Well, a former fighter pilot and also drone expert told Texas lawmakers the problem is that drone technology is advancing at a much faster pace than our defenses can keep up with. So drones, they are becoming harder to detect, more capable, and also cheaper. Officials say some of those warning signs are already playing out along the southern border. The El Paso Border Patrol chief tells Fox cartels are using drones almost daily.
You almost never see a group crossing or trying to make illegal entry unless they're using a drone to counter-surveil. We've already seen examples of that, of cartel-on-cartel weaponization of the drone, so that is a real threat.
Texas lawmakers held a hearing on the growing drone threat and what the state can do to stop it. Now, drone expert Michael McGee told them a sophisticated drone can now be built with parts bought online for as little as $600, capable of flying autonomously for miles while being extremely difficult to detect. His concern that same technology could eventually be used to carry out a deadly attack on a crowded venue or critical infrastructure here at home.
In security terms, today, August 12th, is August 12th, 2001. 30 days. Our next 9/11 is coming, and this time we see it coming. The question is whether Texas builds the defenses before it arrives.
And the key is urging Texas to build up its defenses, including getting more law enforcement officers trained and federally certified to take down these threatening drones. He says as of July, only 61 officers nationwide have this certification, Dana.
Very interesting. All the drone technology being used, and we appreciate you being on top of it, Brooke. Thanks.
Ukraine strikes back, launching a deadly drone attack on Russia, one of its largest in the war. Meanwhile, Russia continues to bombard Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. Stephanie Bennett reports live from London for us. Stephanie.
John, it was yet another night of deadly strikes on both sides of this war. In this year, Kyiv, of course, has been stepping up its long strikes deeper into Russia, launching long-range missiles and swarms of drones targeting military and energy facilities. It's destroyed Wildberries warehouses, Russia's online retail giant, similar to Amazon, burning billions of dollars worth of merchandise. But Kyiv accuses it of handling military goods. Russia's Ministry of Defense said it had destroyed 822 Ukrainian drones overnight. Some 600 were heading towards the capital. A third of those destroyed over the Moscow region itself, according to the mayor. An 83-year-old was killed in several homes, a railway station, and reports of a Russian rocket fuel plant were also damaged elsewhere. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Zelensky said at least 3 people were killed and more than a dozen others injured across Ukraine. Hitting a steel plant and in Kyiv, a Russian missile sparked a major fire at one of the city's largest book markets, leaving rows of stalls burned out and goods destroyed, ruining people's livelihoods.
The market has been completely destroyed. The entire market, from one end to the other. Not a single stall is left.
And meanwhile, in Romania, a jet shot down a drone that strayed into its airspace. They're not sure which side sent it yet, but it is actually the 4th time so far this year that something like that has happened.
Florida voters headed to the polls tomorrow in the latest test of the far-left socialist movement as multiple progressives look to score big in the Sunshine State.
Alex Hogan is live in Washington with all of those details. Hi, Alex.
Hi, good morning, Todd and Ashley. So Democrats are deciding how far left the party is willing to go, and this week that debate moves to Florida. So Elijah Manley is a self-described socialist, and he's challenging longtime Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. His campaign includes abolishing ICE as it stands.
We are still going to enforce immigration laws that are on the books, but we just don't need people running through the streets, kidnapping people off the streets. Americans have been killed by ICE agents that are untrained. They have put police officers in danger, our communities in danger. Yeah, I mean, American citizens that they've put in prisons. I mean, random people on the street that have been shot in the face. I mean, this is lawlessness.
This is a narrative. This is an unfactual narrative, Elijah.
Well, another progressive, Oliver Larkin, is running against Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Larkin is running on universal health care, free college, and a more aggressive economic agenda. Joey Jones asked him about some of those campaign goals this weekend.
Why are you out here advocating for socialism in a state where capitalism does work well when it seems like you hadn't really tried it yourself?
Well, we have a higher cost of living in the Miami metropolitan area now than New York City, and we've had 30 years of Republican rule in Tallahassee. So this stark income and wealth inequality where we see my district, the 25th congressional district, having the highest concentration of billionaires in the country. At the same time, we see the poverty rate going up.
And amid the potential internal shift within the Democratic Party, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says he does not support the Democratic Socialists of America agenda as a whole.
I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. Now, you're going to have individual members who have been elected in Democratic primaries, and if they are elected in the general in November, will be part of the House Democratic Caucus. It's going to be a broad caucus.
So for a Democratic Party still debating its direction, tomorrow's Florida primary will be a test whether a progressive message can really gain traction in a state that has shifted sharply to the right in recent elections. Todd, Ashley.
Alex Hogan live for us. Alex, thank you. With that, let us bring in the president of the James Madison Institute, Dr. Robert McClure. Dr. McClure, let's pick it up there. Jeffries can say that all he wants, that he wants the big tent party, but he doesn't really want to embrace socialism. It's sort of like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Can he do that, Doctor?
He certainly can't do that in Florida, and thanks for having me this morning. Sure. Florida has become a deeply red state over the last 10 years, and what we have found here in the Sunshine State, as we call it, the free state of Florida, is that good policy is good politics. Whether it's Democrats saying that the cost of living is being driven by free market capitalism or there are too many billionaires, the actual reality is in Florida, it's government that drives up the cost of living on a daily basis. At the local level, it's housing costs through wait times and impact fees. And at the national level, it's the flood of the Biden administration's, printing of money that has driven up affordability. So in Florida, what we're seeing is people are focused on the cost of living, and they understand here that free market capitalism is the answer.
Yeah, broadening this out just quickly, there could be up to 14 total far-left squad members. Remember, the squad was like 5 people, then it expanded to 7. Now it could be up to 14 in this next Congress. And boy, oh boy, Hakeem Jeffries is going to have a problem on his hands if he thinks he's going to control those 14, because we saw when there were just 5, they were tough to control. But getting back to Florida for a moment, you saw in Alex Hogan's piece, you saw Larkin speaking there to Fox, you saw Manley talking there to Fox over the weekend. And I think there was a sort of a general overtone in the questions asked and in what Alex Hogan said. This is in Florida, a state that over the last 10 years has really become a bastion of conservatism. Do these two have any chance in Florida?
Well, in those 2 districts, they're heavily Democratic. So in one district, it's plus 20D, and in the other, in the greater Miami area with Oliver Larkin, it's plus 9D. But the reality is what we've seen, the left loves to tell us that as states and nations become more diverse, that somehow it's inevitable that they'll become more left-wing. And Florida has given the lie to that. We are, along with Texas and California, probably the most diverse state in the country. 15 to 20% Hispanic, roughly 12 to 15% African-American, rural, urban, small businesses. You pick the demographic, it's here in Florida. And yet what we've seen over the last 10 years is that Florida has moved deeply red. And there's one reason for that, guys. It's because good policy is good politics. We have no state income tax. We have the light hand of regulation. We have universal school choice, and the list goes on. And that's why Florida has become deeply red. It's not about demographics. It's about policy. So while these 2 candidates specifically might do well in these deep, deep blue districts like we've seen in New York City, and other places, they're not going to do well, broadly speaking, in a red state like Florida.
Voters in Alaska are going to see 2 Dan Sullivans in the Republican category on their ballots. That's because a Dan Sullivan is running against the incoming Republican senator with the same first and last name. Dan J. Sullivan is a retired teacher who's challenging sitting Republican Senator Dan S. Sullivan. Dan J. Sullivan claims his campaign is for real, but he's being accused of running simply to confuse voters. President Trump even writing radical left Democrats have put up another man named Dan Sullivan, and they did this to take votes away from our great senator of the same name. Democrats are trying to trick Alaskans. Now, Dan J. Sullivan has said in interviews that he's a pragmatic Republican and denies that his campaign is a sham. The DOJ is reportedly investigating whether there's fraud or conspiracy involved. Now, on the Democratic side, former House Representative Mary Petola is now running for Senate in Alaska, and she's making headlines for saying no to the endorsement of Kamala Harris. Petola's campaign claims it did not approve a fundraising email last week signed by Kamala Harris urging supporters to endorse Petola. Now, Alaska has a unique voting system where the top 4 candidates in each race of tomorrow's primary will advance to the general election in November, regardless of party. And then in November, it's ranked choice, where voters can choose their favorite first, second, third, and fourth candidate. And in the governor's race, there are 17 candidates, and Democrats hope Alaska native Mary Petola will boost the entire Democratic ticket because she's polling high, Bill.
Watch FlashPoint every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. This has been a FlashPoint NewsBreak presentation.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents.
Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me.